Now we're going to talk turkey. One of the most effective ways to take advantage of the Thanksgiving turkey sales is to buy numerous of them and can them for use throughout the year. This is a typical 20-pound turkey that you can can. By canning this into pint jars, you could end up with between 10 and 12 pints of canned turkey per 20-pound turkey. This is, again, ready to heat and eat. There are many uses for canned turkey. Any recipe that you come along that requires chicken, you can substitute it with turkey. We use, some of our favorites are turkey fajitas, turkey and noodles, barbecue turkey sandwiches. There are just endless possibilities for canned turkey. This is a little bit different than canning raw roast. When you do beef, you pack the beef in here raw and then you can and seal your jar. On turkey, you fully cook it first in your canner, then you can easily remove the meat from the bone, placing the meat in each jar, and then you seal your jar. To do this first, you would remove the turkey from the packaging and remove the neck and the sack of innards. You place the turkey fully in the canner and adding 2 cups of water to the canner. By placing the turkey in here with 2 cups of water, you can the turkey at 10 pounds of pressure for 25 minutes, and we'll explain that a little bit more in a second. But just remember to totally, what I call the annihilation phase, you put your turkey in here to totally cook it at 10 pounds of pressure for 25 minutes. And now you guys get to see a turkey that I call fully annihilated. This turkey is ready to remove from the canner and have the meat pulled off of the bone. This is where it's a guessing game. Each time I remove a turkey from a canner, it seems like it's a different scenario. Sometimes you're going to come out with a leg, sometimes you're going to come out with a large turkey. So we're going to see which version I'm going to get today. 2 forks work sometimes, egg tongs work. This is just going to be a trial by error. So I poke my forks in. And remember, this is this one I believe was a 22-pound turkey. So be ready to lift. And this turkey appears it's going to come out all together. Have a pan waiting. Been cooked for 25 minutes in the canner at 10 pounds pressure. You can remove it, and at this point, this is cooked, and you could have it for dinner. We do have to, when we're canning it, we have to remove the meat and place it in the jar. It is very important, before you remove the turkey from the canner, the pressure gauge has to be down to 0. So do not try to take the lid off of your canner without the pressure going fully down to 0. Also, you can imagine this turkey was extremely hot. So we typically can the turkey in the morning and wait all day, leaving it in the canner, on the stove, doing nothing with it for several hours, then removing the lid and removing the turkey. You can also can it before you go to bed. When you wake up in the morning, it will be cool enough that you can do what we're getting ready to do now. Again, this is cooled down, so if it was warm, which we have done that too, situations just require you to do it quicker than others. Using egg tongs works really well to pull off the meat. 2 forks work good. You just start pulling, and you can see that this is cooked. Just start taking handfuls of meat. Now, we typically put it into a bowl first and then load your jar. Also, sometimes it helps to have a knife. We have a family of 5, and we find that a pint is a good size for most items. A pint of meat for taco salad or fajitas seems to just be plenty for our meal. After you remove the turkey from the bone and you place it into each of your jars, packing it again down snugly, you have to then add broth. This is broth that is removed from the canner that is created from the water that you placed in there when you totally annihilated the turkey. Sometimes it may be helpful to use a funnel. If you have a measuring cup that you can pour, just pour the broth on top of the turkey. When it gets to the top, Give it a chance to soak in around it, and it'll be bubbling and trying to find the air places to seep into. Take a knife and just slide it along the side of your jar, and that will allow the juice to go fully around all of your meat. After you have your broth in the jar, you want to have about an inch head space, which the head space is the distance between the bottom ridge and the top of your jar. You have your broth in there. Again, for a pint, you add a ½ teaspoon of salt. If it was a quart, you would add a teaspoon of salt. So these are pints, and it doesn't matter if it's a wide mouth or a small mouth pint. All pints get 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Before you seal your jars, you need to take a paper towel and fully clean the top ring of each jar. If there's any particles, even little granules of salt, that will inhibit the lid from sealing fully onto your jar. You have your cooked turkey that you annihilated in the canner at 10 pounds for 25 minutes. You've removed the meat. You've placed the meat in the jar. You have your broth around the meat. You have removed air bubbles. You've placed a ½ teaspoon of salt for every pint. You clean the top of your jar with a moist towel. Now we're ready to put the flat on and securely give your ring a snug. Before you place the jars in the canner to seal, you need to add 2 quarts of water every single time you do the process to where you need to seal your jar. Don't forget, you need to add 2 quarts of water to your canner. Okay, now you're ready to process your jars. You have to have 2 quarts of water in your canner. You need to have your rack as the barrier between the jar and the bottom of the canner to avoid breaking jars, and you place them in the canner. The tall 23-quart canner will allow you to do double jars. So you would be able to place 1 row of jars, another rack, and then jars on top of it. But it's very important, you need to also have the barrier between the top of this jar and the bottom of the one on top, that will be sitting on top of it. For turkey, it will process at 10 pounds of pressure for 30 minutes. After your canner has returned to 0 pressure and has cooled down a bit, you can use your jar tongs to remove your jar from the canner. You will want to verify after the jar has cooled down whether your jar has sealed or has not sealed. This is an example of a jar that has not sealed. This is an example of a jar that has sealed. You can press on the same point on the lid and it does not make that popping noise. You will hear that popping noise happen periodically as your jars cool. You'll start hearing it pop, and that is the sign that you have successfully sealed your jar. These are ready. Oh, this one here. This one's done and cooked. This is ready to heat and eat. Again, you can use it for anything from just seasoned turkey sandwiches, barbecue turkey, fajitas, anything that calls for chicken. You can substitute it with turkey that you stocked up on a Thanksgiving sale.